Hi guys, I'm Blackie and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to talk about EDC, Everyday Carry. Now as you know, if you've ever followed my channel for very long, you know I'm a big fan of layers, of multiple overlapping layers of responsibility and redundancy. So I want to give you a little thing, and this isn't for the camping, this isn't the outdoor stuff. We'll get to that. This EDC is what comes before the 10 C's, because when I'm going to the field, I've got my 10 C's covered. See, I'm going to have the bigger belt knife, the whatever gear for that. But what we're dealing with right now is the EDC, the everyday, where I'm not necessarily going to the woods at all. I'm going shopping. I'm going to pick up the dry cleaning or whatever. And therefore, what's with me? Let's start with what's on me. I'm going to be carrying a blade. And that blade is going to guaranteed, if nothing else, I may have on my belt, depending on the time of the year and everything else and the conditions I'm facing, I may have one of the belt pouches with a buck 110 or something like that in it. But I will guarantee have this knife. Now this is my Victorinox Fieldmaster. I like the Fieldmaster because it has all the little subtle nuance things that I need for a field knife for camping, woods working, etc. The toothpick, an actual writing pen for that emergency, got to make a note you forgot. Right here, right there, that is a straight pen for getting that splinter out. Being able to, with that package hook, pull lashings and stuff with bank line really tight. I've demonstrated all this before. A sewing awl, it's got a hole in it. With that I can harpoon through a piece of something, put a thread through there, pull it back through, and then harpoon, loop, and use it as a sewing awl. So I can sew and I can router out holes with that. And it's got, of course, the blades, this thing, but it's got a really good saw on it. And that saw, as you can see, I still got wood grain in there. It's very handy. And the back of the blade has got a good 90-degree on it for scraping, and that's going to be important in a minute. So between the scissors and the small blades and etc., I've got the small blade, the big main blade. Ooh, had some crud left on there. Look at there. Last time I pulled it out, Blackie didn't clean it up. Bad on Blackie. And then scissors, and then screwdriver, can opener, bottle opener. That can opener gets used a lot in the kitchen, guys. I'm gonna tell you in a heartbeat, because I don't even bother pulling one off the shelf. I just whip out the thing and I open up cans whenever I'm cooking. So, and then on the other side is an itty bitty pair of tweezers. Now with this, let's think about that for a second. Something stuck, toothpick. I have got to write this down. I can pull that out and I can write on me to remember a number or whatever, that pen. I've got that straight pen in there for that splinter that gets in there and drives you insane. You know, a lot of people don't think about that. Well, I've got this, my big, field knife. Try digging a splinter out with it. Yeah, I want a pen. Let me sit there and pick that sucker out. All the little blades, the scissors, invaluable for cutting clean. You know, I've had a accident before and I've had a hunk of skin sticking up that the skin is tore completely off. It's never going to come back. I got to remove that piece of skin. I can cut it off cleanly in one hit as opposed to trying to saw it off with a knife. I know you cringe. So did I. It hurt, but there was no way it was going to stick back. And so it was clean it up, and I'd rather cut it clean. You know what I mean? So, with this tool, this lanyard, and this lanyard's got a lot of uses too, I carry this. Now, on my key ring, I have a small pill carrier that I carry a small amount of tinder in. I also have another one of those little super small Swiss Army knives. It's got a fingernail file in it. Has come in handy many times. and another teeny tiny pair of tweezers on there. This is a secondary, but it does come into use. And then I have a hot spark, which is a small ferrule rod, which I've demonstrated before. Now with that little bit of tinder in that, I do have the ability to make fire. But I hedge that bit, you know. I go a little bit further. I carry my wallet. In my wallet, I have one of the Wazoo fire cards. Those of you that may have not heard of this before, Wazoo sells it. And it's made out of the same material like a guitar pick. And so I can shave off the side of it with the back of my knife. Actually shave it like a piece of fat wood and make a pile of tinder, which will catch a spark and ignite. This whole card will burn. That's a lot of tinder I can shave up. And as it says on the back, you can scrape it, spark it, and then stand back because it burns hot. You know, so therefore, totally safe to carry. It's also really good for scraping ice off of the windshield too. So I carry that. Another thing I carry in my wallet, receipts. That's an emergency source of tinder as well, right? So I have on my body at any given time, I have the ability, my knife, to saw, to cut, to etc. Take care of minor first aid things and like that. And I'm carrying a couple of sources of tinder so that I can turn around and I can build a fire. Okay. Now that's layer absolute zero. That's just on me no matter what. So I'm walking through Walmart shopping or the grocery store or wherever. That's on me. See. One step up. We do not have Star Trek teleporter, so I'm probably on my vehicle. Well, on my vehicle, I'm carrying a Ranger roll. And this is, as I've talked about before, this is a U.S. Army poncho. This one's got some wear to it. It's got a lot of duct tape on it to cover up holes. There is a emergency reusable space blanket right there. Because I'm in the South. I may have a vehicle accident or whatever, and I need to set up a shelter with the shiny side out to reduce heat. And then underneath that, I've got a Woobie poncho liner in there. Now, stuck in here is a ridge line and the tent stakes to set this up. I can divide this out and turn it into just plain rain gear. I can have rain gear and a tarp, the reflective, and a Woobie to wrap me up. I can put the Woobie inside the poncho liner to make an emergency, inside the poncho to make an emergency sleeping bag. I can just take the knife and cut a slit in it and put it over my head if it's that cold and I've got to walk, and just go ahead and cut that poncho liner and make a slit for my head to go through and wear them together, bundled around me as a greatcoat to give me some insulation and be able to get out in the weather. On the other end of it, I've got a knife stuck in here. Now this is one of those sets that Gerber puts out at Christmas time. It's got a fire steel on it, and it's a, Camillus knife. It's got a 90-degree striker right there, and then it's got a serrated and straight edge. Not an expensive knife. This is an old poncho liner. Usable, but old. This is an old poncho, like I said, with duct tape on it. This is older tent stakes, older gear. Why? If you break into my car and you steal it, you're not getting much. I'm not going to put state-of-the-art #1 gear in my vehicle because your vehicle may be broken into and robbed, correct? So this is not going to be my mainline first response. This is still usable, still good gear, but it's got some age on it. Okay, so that's what this is. So with this, I can build a fire, redundant fire systems right there, a bigger knife than the one I've got, so I can handle small and larger stuff. I can process a little kindling and stuff with that. That serrated edge won't saw worth a flip, but I got a saw on my Swiss Army knife, don't I? Between the two of them wedges, I can split down something bigger if I needed to. I've got the fire card. I've got a set of lifeboat matches in a small container in the center of this that I'm not going to tear apart. So there's a redundant fire kit. There's a redundant shelter system right there. also it's not one of my Blackbirds, but I've got an old haversack with a, like I said, old set of 10Cs that stays in the vehicle. It will have a canteen cup and some basic stuff in it, and I carry a gallon of water as well as an MRE for food. So if I am suddenly, this thing just slung a rod and I'm in the way back and I didn't plan on going to the woods, I have the capability in the vehicle of an EDC to set up a shelter, to walk out, to have a little bit of food, to have about 72 hours worth before it gets real serious. In that, real simple, see. So it's layer 0. What's on my body? It's going to be that Swiss Army knife, fire card, and the keychain with the stuff on it. That will be attached to me. You know, if I'm walking through Walmart, it's on me. One step up, a much bigger kit system in the vehicle, as well as I can use the vehicle for shelter. As well as, let's talk about the fact that I can lift this hood and there's brake fluid, transmission fluid, dipstick, oil, all of which can be used as an accelerant in a fire making. There's a spare tire out back. If it's life and death, I'll set that sucker on fire. Oh, I know you EPA guys are hollering, oh my God, it's a carcinogen. Yep, come arrest me. If it's life and death, I'll burn that car before I die. My father was in a similar situation where he drove a truck back in the 50s, and there was a case of where they had a driver freeze to death in Ohio where the truck had got snowbound, and eventually he ran out of fuel for running a heater, and he froze to death. And they, like 2 weeks after they'd got that guy out of there, they were sending my dad back out to the same area. And he told them, he said, I'll go, but I'm going to tell you, I will not freeze to death. I'm telling you. And he inadvertently got snowbound. And so he burned every cardboard box in the back of the truck. He'd brought an axe and a shovel with him. He broke up the floorboards in the back of that trailer and burned them. He burned every tire on that truck, and it tore the passenger seat out and burned it, and was about to torch what was left of the truck. When they found him, he told them, you're not going to take my dead body out and crank that truck, put fuel in it and take that truck out. Before I die, I'll burn it to the ground. Before I freeze to death, I'll sacrifice that vehicle. So it's a resource to get me there. It's also a resource to sacrifice. If it's life and death, I can pull wires out and use as cordage. Oh, but yeah, if it's that bad, see, always be thinking the next step, and what are my resources, what are my abilities? I got some rope in the vehicle, I got several other things. See, always, always, always think, if this is all I got, what can I do with it? EDC is a mindset. These are my resources. Now, how I apply those resources to the given situation, see, that's the thing. So, what are your EDC? What's your 0 EDC? What's on your body? What's your level 1? My vehicle. Then we go to 3. 3 is whenever I'm going out and I'm carrying my rucksack, my haversack. I'm going camping, I'm going to the woods. Well, 3, I've got much more resources. 4, we're going and setting up something. We're going and building a hunting lodge or a way station, a camp area that we're going to leave gear there. So we're coming in and we're bringing in water, food sources, cooking sources, all that stuff. You see, each one stacks upon the one below. That's the advantage. It's an upside down pyramid, one block at a time, and each step gives me a greater resource, greater ability. That's how to approach an EDC. If you've enjoyed this video, guys, please hit that like, share, and subscribe button, and I'll do more of this content in the future. Till next time, guys, I'm Blackie wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.